All right, welcome back to QuickBooks, everybody. So for this instance today, we're learning chapter 7. So again, we learned chapter 1, which is the intro to QuickBooks. Chapter 12 is actually setting up your company file. Now, chapter 7 is going to be how we can look at the company file and customize it to how we want it to look, whether it's the company's perspective or if it's the actual user. Okay. And we're also going to be looking at entering in lists. So as we remember from chapter 12, right after you finish the chart of accounts, the next thing you got to do is you got to update your lists, whether it's your items list or whether it's your customers list. So that is what we're doing today. But we're not going to talk about customers or vendors just yet. Tomorrow is going to be chapter 4, which is going to be all about your vendors and about your expenses. So we're going to push that aside for a bit and then just focus on creating your list, such as your items list, okay? And I'll explain what those are. But first, we're going to be taking a look at understanding how to customize QuickBooks to your liking. Now, when I say customizing your QuickBooks to your liking, it's not that much that you can actually truly do. And you'll see when we look at this perspective because, again, QuickBooks, it's a pretty, I would say, well-used application for accounting, but there's not many preferences that you can utilize to customize it to your, to your preference, like things that you want to appear on there. You can't customize it like how, for example, like PowerPoint. You can make it however you like it, design it how you like it. In this case, there's only a few changes that you can do, all right? And we're going to talk about that in a second. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what are the QuickBooks preferences? So there are two types of preferences that you can have. First one is going to be user preferences. User preferences is going to be whoever the current person is using on their current desktop. Okay. Meaning whoever has access to the file, or if this is your computer, definitely this is going to be something that you want to customize based on what you like, okay? And the second one is going to be company preferences. Company preferences is going to be based on a universal kind of outlook. So if we're making a preference, for example, I want my preference to be accrual basis. As a company preference, it's going to make the whole entire file, meaning anybody that accesses it is going to get an accrual basis. But as a user preference, you can change the way that you like it for your convenience or for your liking to enter in the transactions. Okay, so that is the difference between the user preference and company preference. Here's Nadifa. Hello, good afternoon. So with that being said, those are the two types of preferences that you will see. And the first one that we're going to look at is going to be looking at user preferences. So when I say user preferences, again, it's very limited on what you can actually do. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the first one. So here we're at our home page. Now to set preferences in general, it's going to be located on your edit menu bar, and it's going to be the last thing that you can do, which is preferences. Once you get there, there is a list of preferences that you can make changes for. So as you can see, these are all the preferences that you can change for either the company file or based on the user profile. So in this case, there's accounting. Here you go. You see accounting. There's things such as inventory, things as such as payroll options. Now, once you're here on the left side of the screen, it pretty much gives you the options of what you can change as far as preferences. The one thing that we wanted to show you that is most feasible or most widely used if you're using user preferences is going to be how you want to display how you want your QuickBooks to look. So if we go to display view, okay, at the top here on the right side, you have two columns or two tabs. You have my preferences, which is the user preferences. So I'm logged in as the admin. So this is me setting it on this specific computer. And then you have company preferences. So this is the one where if you make a change to this file, that means it's going to be reflecting for anybody else who opens this file. Okay, so that's the difference between them. So in this case, we're just focusing on just my preferences. Now let's look at the options that you can utilize here. So there's not many options you can use. So the first one is looking at how you're going to view your windows. So right now it is set to view multiple windows at one time. This is by far the most productive way of entering in a transaction or even just doing accounting in general. You generally need a lot of windows open because the one thing you don't want to do is if you were to do one page, which I'll show you. So if I select one window at a time and I go ahead and click OK, what's going to happen is that means it will make it full screen. However, if I want to open up another window, I can only access one window at one time. And in order to go back and forth between windows, I would literally have to manually open it back up. So it's kind of, depending on how productive and how quickly you like to work, it's actually inefficient if you prefer to use one window at a time. So for example, here I'm at my home page. If I do my bill tracker, I cannot minimize and go back to my home page. I literally have to go back to my home page for me to access it again. So again, to me, I feel that it's inefficient, especially if you are the kind that needs to look at a paper and then transfer the information on there. This is probably the most inefficient way to do things. But the best thing about that is if you were to have multiple windows, the only downside is that you're going to have to maximize the window to see all the icons, or you're going to have to move the screen down just so that you can pull up the one that you're looking for. So example for that is, so if you're working at one window at a time, at least you're more clean and you're more organized and you are able to process a thought one at a time. Okay, so that's the one window option where I can only access one at a time. But let's go back and let's go ahead and change that preference one more time to be able to view multiple windows. And I'll see what the difference is and why it's more chaotic. So here I have my home page. I have my bill tracker. I can open up my income tracker, right? And I can also open up, let's say, my calendar. I can have my calendar open as well. So here, this is the multi-view layout. Now, as you can see, the more windows that you open, the more everything's just going to pile on top of each other. And having to find it is going to what's caused you to be less efficient because you've opened it already. It's already open. You would have to manually close out each one to get to the window that you need to get to, or simply click the tab. So if in case I want to look at my bill tracker, I can just go ahead and click my bill tracker and here it is, right? Because it's already open. But other things with this is when you have multi-window viewing, yes, you can shrink it, you can multiply, so you're able to view it. But the thing is, like, once you do it like this, if I go to my home page, I'm missing a lot of my stuff. I'm missing a lot of transactions, or it's been shrunken down. You would actually have to either maximize it so you're able to view everything. I know that most times when I do go to my home page, what happens is that the window gets so shrunken that, look, now I'm missing my company my company, my banking section. So I would have to maximize it no matter what. Oh, I actually maximize the whole thing or minimize the whole thing. So again, that's what comes as a downside to having multiple windows. So again, if I need to access to my income tracker, I would have to like exit this one. Okay, here now I'm at my income tracker. I don't need my income tracker, then I don't need my calendar either. So I would have to just close them all out until I find the window I want, or I simply just have to click the link again. So that's a good that's the good thing and bad thing about both features, whether you have one window open or whether you have multiple windows open. But for my preference, I actually prefer to have multiple windows open, just so that I can show you just like how easy it is to be able to enter in transactions, but also when I ask you questions like how do you enter in a bill, it's going to be easier for me to pull up all the forms and all the ways, because that's what it does. That's what this class is, okay? So it allows me to be able to show you things simultaneously. So that's going to be a set preference that I would like to have on this computer, okay? Other things that I want to do is, so here are general desktop settings. So desktop is going to be referred to your actual computer. Now what QuickBooks does that can help you too is if your computer has multiple people using them, or multiple users, such as maybe you do the first 4-hour shift and then you have someone that comes in and logs in for the next shift, you definitely want to be able to have these options available to you. Okay, so the first one is save when closing company file. So if you're the sole user of this computer, keep it, because a lot of times you're in the middle of a transaction. It's the end of the day. You just want to, come back into the office the next day and pick up from where you left off. That would be the most key for you. Okay, but again, if you are that kind of position where the computer is not technically yours, it's a shared computer, multiple people use it, you definitely want to place in don't save the desktop. Okay, so what this does is every time you close the company file, when you open back up, it just automatically pops up whatever you set to pop up first. Okay, and that is definitely going to be something that's key and useful for those who have people who use the computer besides you. Okay, because it's also very pertinent, because you never want to, not that you're hiding anything or anything, but it's going to be a hassle for whoever comes into the computer, because they have to close all the windows for you and start from wherever they need to start from. So that's a general rule of thumb. If you have multi-users using the same computer, you don't want to have to make the other person have to close your work out. They might enter in a bill by accident when it isn't their position. So you definitely want to make sure that you're cautious and you understand who is the user of this exact desktop. Okay, so that's just something that you want to know for key feature. And then other ones is save current desktop. So meaning like the current desktop would be like whatever the last user has done. Make sure you save it from there. Okay. Other things too is I always like to show the home page when you first open up QuickBooks. If you unselect this and you close it out, every time you open up your company file, you would actually have to manually open up your home page. I actually like to have it the first thing I see, instead of having someone's leftover transactions that are there. I actually prefer to have my home page be the first thing that opens up when I open up the company file. So that's definitely a user preference. But again, if you are a user that has limited access to certain things, your home page would not benefit you at all if you have it open, because you might not be able to view everything. So you also want to make sure you understand that preference. Okay. Now, this one says switch color icons to light to dark. So I actually figured this part out. Now, this is only applied to when we can customize the icon bar, and I'll talk about that when we actually get there. Okay, so we'll put that on hold, and I'll explain that in a second. So other things that you can also do too is for Windows settings. So again, this is actually going to be connected to your actual physical computer itself. So if I were to do this, it's going to access the actual computer hard drive. And this is for display settings. So for example, if you need it to be bigger text, then that's where you'll place that information. Or if you need it smaller text. So for me, I made it a little bigger just so then because everyone has like probably a laptop that they're using. Your screen is probably like 20 inches at most. So it's very small. So I just want to make sure that you guys are able to see it. So that's why a lot of times my windows are very short and I have to pull them up. So that's just a preference that you can utilize in your actual computer settings. Same thing with sounds as well. So if you guys listen carefully, when I enter in a transaction, usually you'll get a beep. In this case, I think I turned on or the Academy photography. When you enter in a transaction, it will take us it will give you like a little sound of a person taking a picture. That is all going to be something that you are going to be toggling through your actual computer settings itself. It's not a actual thing that you set up in QuickBooks. It's going to be set up through your actual computer. Last thing I'm going to talk about is actually customizing the color scheme that you want for your QuickBooks. So as you can see right now, it's at the basic color navy blue. And all this really does is it actually just only changes the title bar. So as you can see at the very top up here, it's a navy blue. That's what I mean by the title bar. It's going to just only change that color. And that's the only preference that you can have in this in this viewing. So if I want to make it yellow, right? So you can actually see it. If I make it yellow, see, the title bar just turns yellow. And that's all that you can do for customizing color. I know, right? It's kind of ridiculous, but some people prefer the colors. It's also pertinent for, again, if you are very, company color kind of patriot, whatever you want to call it. If you're very kind of like, you just want to make sure that everything matches your company. So if your company's red, black, and white, you would have this title bar be set to red or something, things like that. Or if it's like, so for example, my company's colors are red and black. So that's the only thing that you can change. You can't change the color of this. It's going to be forever green. So, because QuickBooks is green. So anything else after that you can't change it. It's just only the title bar you can change. So none of those colors. So for example, these are still going to be green. And I'm going to click yes. So these are still going to be green. Okay. So I'm going to go back to view because actually I don't prefer red. So I'm going to actually prefer, I think I preferred purple blue. Yeah, that's the one I like. Even though it doesn't make a true difference, I'm gonna go ahead and save this setting. Save. So that's all you can really do when it comes to customizing personal preferences. Yes. Now there's another section in the book that explains on how you can actually customize how you want it to appear. So we talked about customizing the color schemes and how you want to view it. But another one is actually like changing the platform. So for example, if I want to make changes to my home page, yes, I can actually do that. Okay, I can definitely make changes to my home page. So actually, I don't know why I did that. I should just double click. I can definitely change the icons on here. But you're also very limited to how you can actually customize the homepage, all right? Because most of these transactions are widely used. It defeats the purpose of using QuickBooks if you're going to get rid of them. But for example, we're gonna focus on this section here. So statements. You are not required to send statements to your customers all the time. So is it necessary for me to have this on my homepage? And I'm going to show you how to get rid of it. So in order to customize the home page for icons and whatnot, you are going to go to the edit menu bar and you are going to go to preferences. In this case, it is going to be under the same topic, display view. But however, instead of being on my preferences, you are going to go to to the company preferences. And as you can see here, to customize the home page, there's only a few icons you can actually customize. So it's just either showing a few things such as example here, I don't want my statements to be there. Okay, so if I click this and uncheck it, I'm going to click OK. So now that it's going to save my changes. So what's going to happen is if I were to click my home page again, my whole section for my statements is gone. See? You don't have it there. And that's as much as you can be able to do that. So in your book, it tells you that you cannot get rid of entering a bill and you cannot get rid of creating an invoice. Okay? So those are, especially if you have estimates, you must have an invoice there. But if you were to turn off estimates, you don't need, you're not, it's going to show. Yeah. So again, all of these things are going to be toggled through the edit preferences window. Okay. So one last thing I do want to talk about is also customizing the home page. So again, when we actually created the company file, when we went through this easy step interview, not only are you creating the company file, you're also setting up what is going to be displayed on your home page as well as your icon bar. Okay, and what I mean by that is when we went through this series of questions, one of the questions was, do you keep track of inventory? And we said yes. And when we said yes, this whole thing right here popped up. So you have your purchase orders, you have the receive inventory, and you have the receive against inventory. And if I want to make that changes, right? So for anything that you answered in the easy step interview, you can easily go back and fix those by going to the edit and you have your preferences. Okay, so again, in this one, right, if I go to items and inventory and I go to my company and I select that I don't keep track of inventory or I don't purchase inventory. I click OK and I click OK. Now, if I go to my home page again, notice this. My whole entire purchase and inventory section is gone. Okay, so in order to customize the home page, you actually technically do it through the easy step interview, and or you can also customize it through the edit preference window. Okay, so again, edit on the menu, preferences, oops, I'm in the wrong one. Edit on the menu, preferences window. Okay, so that's how you customize the home page. Okay, so yes. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle that back on because I do use inventory. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and view my home page again. So there you go. Now my full section here is available for my inventory. Okay. So there are two ways to be able to customize your home page, and that is through the easy step interview. And the second one is edit preferences window. Any questions on in regards to customizing your home page?
No.
Okay, good. All right. So the next section that your book talks about is now customizing your menu bar. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you this. The menu bar is going to be a list of every single transaction you can think of. So anything that exists, even if it's on your homepage or not on your homepage. So for example, I got rid of my statements here. If I go to customers, I have create statements right here. Okay? So just because you turned it off and customized your homepage, that doesn't mean you can't have access to that specific transaction, because no matter what it is, your menu bar is going to contain it. So I'm going to tell you this. You absolutely cannot customize the menu bar. Because again, you can't get rid of a transaction because, you may need it in the future. So everything on the menu bar is a list of every single transaction that exists in QuickBooks. Okay, so therefore you cannot make any changes to the edit. You cannot make any changes to the menu bar. However, the one thing that you can do is you can customize the favorites menu. So if it's not displayed, you're gonna have to go to your view, and then in here you should see favorites menu. Okay, if it's not checked mark, then that's where you can activate your favorites menu. So if I were to unclick that, there you go. It doesn't exist. But if you want to, right, you just click view, menu bar, favorites menu, and here you have it. And that's where you can either customize it by going to favorites menu and customize it, or you can also do that through the favorites menu here. Okay, so favorites menu, you go to customize your favorites. So what this does is, it actually is really funny, because I feel that creating a favorites menu defeats the whole purpose of anything, because they say that the favorites menu, right, is going to be pretty much a list of all of the transactions that you frequently use. Now, I'm going to ask you this, and don't think it's a funny question, but if you can create a favorites menu, you can just do the same thing by going to the menu and clicking the transaction. So my question to you is, what is the purpose of creating a favorites menu when you can just go to the actual menu and select it? Okay. Now, what it does is, for example, if you do frequently use a transaction such as I do a report, okay, then you can put your reports there in your favorites menu. But what's the point of doing that when you have a reports right here on your reports menu? So it's honestly for things for example, like if things are hidden. So for example, like, how, like, if I were to go into, let's say planning and book and, for this one, right? And it has a little window that extends to more. That's what it means by, so that it gets easier, quicker access by just going to the favorites menu and being able to click it there. But I don't think there's a real true purpose of having a favorites menu when you can just go to the menu itself and do the transaction there. So again, but I do need to show you that the menu bar, you cannot customize it. The only thing that you can customize is the favorites menu. And I'm going to go ahead and show you. So once you activate it and have the favorites menu viewed, that's where you click on it and you can customize your favorites menu. So again, it can list up all the transactions that exist in QuickBooks. So if you scroll down, see all those transactions, look at this little mini scroll bar. You see all those are all the transactions that exist in QuickBooks. And what's funny is it's also separated, right? based on your menu. So for example, under your company menu bar, you have all of these transactions. Okay, so company, right? If you go to company on your menu bar, you have the same exact transaction. So what it does is it's basically pulling things out of your menu bar to make it easier and accessible. So of course, I'm gonna add my home page on there. That's definitely something I'd like. Other things that maybe I like to have there too is, let me see. I'd like to have a calendar if I can find it. A chart of accounts is definitely something I'd like to add on there. Let's see. Let's go through this. Nothing in customers because I can just go straight to there. You can have your memorized reports there, which you can access that under list. Calendar, perfect. I found my calendar. So maybe I need my calendar to be there so it's easily accessible. Okay. Another one that I actually think is actually pretty useful is if you can have the Ask Accountant. Obviously, if you paid for it, but I definitely want that to be actually. I would want my I ask the accountant to be my very first thing I see. So what I can do here is once I've added my list, I can place it in order of how I want it by using the move up and move down button. But of course, you need to select it. So here I want my ask the accountant to be first. Second should be home page. Third should be my my calendar should come second. Then my home page and then my chart of accounts. So I can organize it how I like and how I want it to look. So there you go. Once I'm satisfied with everything I see here, I can go ahead and press OK. So once I press OK, what's going to happen is if I click my favorites menu, boom, there is the list of the 4 things I wanted to have easily access to. Okay, so again, I don't have the paid service for the Ask Accountant, but it's still there. I have my calendar right here so I can see what's going on. And I also have my home page as well as my chart of accounts. So again, all of this is just, it just makes it easier for you to access. But right here, I'm going to show you something really funny. If I go straight to my list, right at the top is my chart of accounts. So I don't know what the purpose of the favorites menu truly does. If it makes it any quicker for you to find your transactions that you need. I think having the Ask the Accountant should be something that is easily accessible. But as far as the rest of them, you can simply just go to company and click on calendar. Like, how hard is that? Okay. So that is what you can do for the menu bar. Any questions in customizing the menu bar? Nope. All right. Okay, so the next section we're going to be talking about is customizing the icon bar. So this is actually probably the most useful one because what the icon bar is, again, it is actually a quick access to a window. Okay, so it's kind of like the favorites menu, except this one is actually more, easier to see because you have little icons that kind of gear you towards this. And on top of that, things that you don't exist on the homepage, such as your income tracker or your bill tracker, that's actually more useful than having it on your homepage. But there's things that you can have a lot more icons that are necessary for you that you can utilize versus than having to use your homepage. Now let me show you on how you can display it. Okay, so that's first, and then we'll talk about customizing. So first things first is, if you notice that it right now, by default, it is left aligned. Now, a lot of people don't prefer this. Reason being is because it can get annoying, and on top of that, you are limited to your viewing space in the middle section. So what you can do is if you click view, okay, you can have the choice to hide your icon bar. So therefore, my window is maximized to my advantage, okay? Now, again, the icon bar could actually be very useful, especially for, again, if you need your income tracker, if you need your bill tracker. It'd be nice and easy if you could be able to press it just like this, like on the homepage. You just press it like a button and it will activate. So usually that is definitely, it's good to have the maximum amount of space on your window, but it's also could be a little hindrance to you because you may need to have to go to like your customers to access your income tracker. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and look at that again. So if I were to reactivate it, right, and say I don't want to hide my icon bar, I can choose to either have it left aligned or I can choose to have it at the top of my window. So just like this. See, and that makes it a little more easier to be able to facilitate, right? You get the benefit of one, having maximum window space, and two, it's a lot more easier to access now because your icons are at the top, right? But what I kind of think too is that if you have access to your icon bar at the top of the window, how hard is it to be able to go to your menus bar and access it that way too? So I feel that this is also defeats the purpose of anything, really. Okay, so yes. So if you have it at the top of the bar, again, it's just it's a little more organized, but it defeats the purpose of what's the point of having it at the top of the window when you can simply just go straight up a little, like a couple centimeters to access it through the menu bar. Okay. And yeah, so let's go ahead and put it left aligned again, and I'm going to show you a quicker and easier way to get rid of your icon bar. So if you go at the very top of your icon bar, you could search your icons, which is great, or search a transaction. And then right here, if you see this little arrow here, you can go ahead and collapse the panel. So now you have it right here, and every time you need to access it, you can open it up just like that. So that's also one feature I think that's really cool. If you don't want to completely hide your entire icon bar, so you can actually do this and it shrinks everything up for you. You still have the icon bar. It's just it's more, you have to collapse it. Okay? So that's one thing that you can do there. Another thing too is you can actually customize the icon bar. See, if you go to view, menu bar, you can customize it. Or the quick and easy way is anywhere on your icon bar, right click it, customize. Okay. Now, here is what's cool about the icon bar. You have a lot more different transactions that you can, easily pull out instead of something that you have to go to the menu bar. So for example, I can put in whatever I want in here. And just like exactly how it shows you here, you can either add, edit, or delete. Now, if I want to add stuff to my icon bar, I'm going to go ahead and click edit. Once I click edit, then I'm sorry, let's do this again. Let's say I want to add something to my icon bar. If I were to add something, I click add, and I look up what kind of transaction or what do I need that's necessary. So all of the icons or available windows that you can select, again, they're going to be in alphabetical order. So in this case, it's a little more easier to look up something. So for this case, I want to actually add in a calculator. Let's see if I can find my calculator. Calculator. Okay. If I want to add my calculator, I see that here's a little description, and then it gives me a little, I want to use this icon. Okay, I'm going to use this icon right here for my calculator. Not this one, this one. And I click OK. So now it drops it down at the very bottom of my window. And just like yesterday, if you see this little diamond thing, you can drag this all the way up to wherever you want to place it. So in this case, I'm going to place it right under my home page. And as you can see, as I'm doing it on my screen, you can see on the left side, it's actually showing me what it will look like. Okay? And if you like the idea of having a space in between, you can actually place that in there as well. So let me go ahead and drag up this space. So I want to have a space in between my calculator and my company. All right. I feel that my company is not as pertinent, so I can delete it if I like. All right. And I want my income tracker, bill tracker. Obviously, I want my calendar. I don't think orders checks is something necessary on my icon bar. But you have other things too, like snapshots. So snapshots is actually very useful if you just want a quick overview of your company. But it's not useful. It's not that useful because you have reports. Okay, you can create the reports for that. And then I have all of these things too. Bank feeds, I'll talk about that when we move into chapter 5. So that's next week. Next week, 2 weeks from now. All right, so there you go. I'm customizing. So for here, I just want to make sure I display my calculator and my income tracker, my bill tracker, and my calendar. Okay, if I want to, for some reason, like I want the word calculator to display completely, I can go ahead and edit this, and I don't want calc. I want it to actually say calculator. I can go ahead and change the name on here, and I'm going to click OK. And now it displays as a full calculator. And then once I've done that and I'm completed, I go all the way down to the bottom and click OK. Because that's the order I like it, that's the icon I want to use, and that's exactly what I want. So we talked about, okay, so any questions in regards to customizing your icon bar?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so as you can see this little break in between, the little extra space. So that's what that space is for. Now, as you can see, right now, this is what I found out. So when you're looking at this, so we see it's blue, right? If you don't like that, you can go to the edit preferences, go to your display options, under your personal, of course, and let's say we click switch color, okay, to colored icons. If you look carefully, it switched it to white background, and the icons are actually filled in with colors. So that's pretty cool. Is it necessary? No. Now, if you were, that only applies it if you have it at the top of the window. If you have it viewed, again, left side panel, it's just going to go right back to normal. Dark and white icons. That's the only downside there. It doesn't change this to white background with color icons. Unfortunately, it only does it for one side and one side only. So that's only the top level. So it's kind of weird, but you know, honestly, it is what it is. So that's the only small feature you can customize is this part right here. All right, any other questions in regards to customizing the icon bar? I'm going to go ahead and put it back. Nope. Okay, so that's just, yeah. That's that. And let's look at what's next in the book. Okay, so now that I got to show you how to customize all 3 interfaces. So again, the interface is the home page, icon bar, and the menu bar. You can only change the home page through the initial setup or the detailed start, or the also known as the easy step interview, and through the edit preferences. All right. Menu bar, you can absolutely not customize the menu bar. You can only customize the favorites menu. And then for the icon bar, yes, I just showed you how to customize it. You either right click it or go to view and customize it. Okay, so that is it for customizing the actual view of QuickBooks. Okay. All right, and we talked about the preferences between the user and the company. So other than that, we're going to move on to the next section here, which is going to be QuickBooks items and other lists. So again, this is the second part that we're supposed to do for chapter 12. Here we are. So what are these extra lists that we're talking about? So if I go to my menu bar under lists, okay, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of things that I can enter in. We already talked about the chart of accounts, right? We talked about how to enter in a new account, all right? Everything that you learned from chapter 12 is going to apply seamlessly for everything else. So if we already learned how to enter in a new account, it's the same exact concept as applying for entering a new item, entering a new sales tax item, entering a new class item, all these things, they're all going to start looking familiar and similar. So when we learn, yes, there's different ways to be able to do something, but knowingly, it's going to be the same concept, rinse and repeat over and over again. So again, by entering in a new account, it's the same thing. You're going to go down to the bottom of the list where it says item, and you're going to enter it that way. So again, this is all rinse and repeat. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about what the lists are. So items list. So I just actually tapped this list just now. What the items list is, it's actually going to be your accounts that are involving your sales, okay, or service. So again, if I were to click this, which I already have, these are things that that are going to break down your inventory, as well as your cost of goods sold, and as well as your sales. So this is going to be where we're going to be learning how to create items that you sell, services that you sell, things that you need to include when it's involving a sale, so such as sales tax, shipping, any discounts, and etc., etc. So this is a list of every product, service, tax, everything that you can think of that's involved, revolving around your revenues, your sales. Okay, and that is only the items list. Okay, if you were to go down to the rest of the list, right? So we have fixed assets item list. So that's obviously when you make purchases of fixed assets. You also have your price level. Price level list is only applied if you give discounts or certain, people a price range. So, for example, if someone's buying from you and it's a customer to vendor relationship, a price level can allow you to manipulate the sales form or how much you charge that person. So it could be tax exempt. That's pretty much it. So for example, for a price level would be a commercial user, someone that buys from you on the regular. A lot of times you give discounts to the elderly, right? They get that, I forgot what it's called, the senior discount. Yes, that's what a price level can be. You can charge seniors discounted things. You can also, if they're military, right, they get a discount if they're military. So that's going to be what a price level does. It allows you to categorize your customers and give them a price level that they are supposed to be receiving. Okay. Other things that we have is sales tax code list. So this is involving your sales tax code, obviously. So your sales tax code is going to be based, again, if it's a government thing, then you can tax your, so this is more along the same lines as your price level. You could give senior discounts, but the thing too is you can also choose whether you tax exempt them or not. So if it's a service, obviously you don't pay tax on services. And if it's a government thing, I believe you do partial to that. If it's someone that's buying in bulk, you can tax exempt them. So that's what that list is. Next one is going to be payroll items. Payroll items list is going to be in detailed in chapter 11 or chapter 10. Specifically, it's going to be everything that you in regards to payroll. So that's going to be chapter 11. Other ones is class list. Class list is something we're going to talk about in chapter 2. And then other names is going to be anyone that's not a customer, vendor, or employee. So the boss's name is going to be here. Owner's name is going to be here. Okay. And then you have your templates on when we'll talk about this at the end of this chapter, that you can customize your sales forms to what your company reflects. So if you need to put a company logo, then you'd be able to do that. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to be looking at so far is going to be the items list, because that is what this chapter is about. It's about setting up your items that you sell or services that you sell, and making it easier for you to link up your accounts to so that when you do a transaction, the QuickBooks knows what to do when you enter in, whether it's a sales form or whether it's entering a bill from a vendor. Okay, that's how QuickBooks does it. It allows you to link accounts, and QuickBooks does it in the background for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is going to be the different types of items that you have on here. Okay, so there's a total of 10 items. So if you're on page, what page is this? If you're on page 212, all right, it gives you a breakdown at the very bottom of the different types of items that you're going to be looking into. And yes, so first things first is obviously a service item. Again, if you provide a service, you have to create an item for it. Okay. Inventory part. Pretty straightforward. If you're selling a specific product, that's what you're going to use the inventory part for. Okay. Next is going to be inventory assembly. Now, in your book, accountants and Premier and Enterprise, they're able to utilize the inventory assembly part. In QuickBooks Pro, you unfortunately do not have that option. And what an inventory assembly does is, if you are in the business of, for example, manufacturing a specific part, or maybe you create your products, that's where you're going to combine either your inventory part and your non-inventory part and creating a product. So that's what inventory assembly does. So for example, you're a bakery, right? Your items are eggs, milk, flour, and sugar, right? You're going to tie all of those things as an inventory part. But you're not going to sell your eggs separately. You're not going to sell your milk separately. And you're obviously not going to sell your flour separately. So you're going to utilize the inventory assembly to create your baked items, bakery items, pastries, cakes, whatever it is. And what you're going to do is you're going to link all of those items. So your eggs, your milk, your flour, your sugar. You're going to link all of those together to create one overall product, which is either a cake or a pastry. okay? And then that's what you're going to utilize for the inventory assembly. Now, this book doesn't actually show you any example of an inventory assembly, so that's definitely something that you may have to learn on your own, because again, for QuickBooks, majority of these things are intended to be just a regular merchandising, as in you already have the product made, so you just sell it. But again, for QuickBooks practices, I believe there is a section when we get to the inventory section. It tells you that you read a certain part and it will show you how to utilize the inventory assembly. Okay. Non-inventory part. Okay, so when we go into inventory, I'll talk more in depth on what the difference between a regular inventory part versus a non-inventory part is. The difference is not very big, but again, I'll save that for inventory, which is chapter 8. Other things that you can use, so make sure that you know the difference, is other charges. Other charges can include shipping, okay, expedited things, foreign shipping costs. Example, okay? So those are things that you can tack on as an other charge, and we'll take a look at how you can create that in a second, okay? Other things that you can have is a subtotal item. So we'll talk about that when we go into giving discounts to our customers, so chapter 2. Okay, group items. Now, if you don't have an inventory an inventory assembly, yes, you can do just fine by using group items. So what group items does is it essentially does the same thing in regards to combining certain things. So for example, in this particular Academy of Photography, they sell the photo session with a bundle package of a free picture frame. Okay. And with that being said, if they're able to create a bundled item, that is generally what you use the group item for. So essentially, it does the same factors as an inventory assembly. However, obviously, here's the thing: when you're grouping two items together, you're taking it at face value, meaning one photo session, one picture frame. That's the package. That's the group item. Where inventory assembly, you can actually scale it. If you need 2 eggs, and this much milk or this much flour, that's what inventory assembly does. You can break it into parts. Okay. So that's just the difference between the two. Other than that, we are also going to be talking about discounts. So when you do offer discounts, whether it's a store-wide discount, that's where you can apply this. Okay, so this is for in case you have a or if they reach a certain level. That's, for example, they spent $100, so you give them an incentive saying, since you spend $100, we'll give you 5% back. So any of those discounts items, instead of actually physically calculating it into QuickBooks and having the QuickBooks display the discounted amount, which is not how you should do it, right? For any receipt that you ever receive, you see the items at full price and then you see the discount item line. That's how you do it, and that's what this item is for. It's so then you can show the customer that they received the discount. All right. Other things that you can have is payment. So for items that are, not items. So if a customer decides to give you an advance payment, you can use the item for here saying this is an advance payment. So that's what you can do. And then lastly, sales tax and sales tax items. Sales tax and sales tax items are pretty straightforward. So they're basically setting up an actual tax code or a tax item. Sorry, not tax code, a tax item. So for example, we have state tax and we have county tax. So we're going to be looking at an example of how to enter this in QuickBooks. So yes. So I'm going to go ahead and take the next 5 minutes to show you how to create a service item. So in this case, it's pretty straightforward. So here I am in my QuickBooks. I'm in my items list. Now I'm going to show you first off how to even access the items list. You have 3 ways you can access your items list. Actually, no, you might have 2. Your first one is going to be on your home page. Okay, right here, items and services. Right here on your home page under company. And then the second one is going to be your menu bar under list. Right here, items list. In company, I don't think you have the items list on here. I think it's going to be under your vendors. Your vendors under inventory, and then you have to enter in a new item there, but you don't have your items list. So that's a way you can enter in a new item. Okay, so again, there's only 2 ways to access the item list itself, and then to enter in an item. This isn't widely used just because there's once you get to the items list, all you have to do is either right click and new item, or you can go down to the bottom, new item, or new. Okay. So once I've done that, here I am at this little window, and it's going to give, the first thing it's going to do is give me a drop down list and options of what kind of item I'm going to create. So again, I talked about every single item and what it does. So now I'm going to select service, because that's what the first one asks you to do. Now, of course, for this one, of course, you're going to have obviously set items that you're going to be creating. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to create a photo session. Okay, a photo session. Okay. Other things that too, you can have sub items, but I generally would recommend you not to have a sub item. Sub items are used for in case, let's say you do sell a picture frame, but you sell different types of picture frames. So for example, I sell a black picture frame, or I sell a white picture frame, a brown picture frame. So those are what you can use sub items for, is to break down the actual picture frame into specifics. But you can also create an item just that says, 5x7 black wooden frame. You can just do the same way too. So you don't necessarily need to create more clutter in your items list if you can just have it easy and just have it set that way. All right, so here I have a photo session. And then my first thing is, well, how much am I going to charge my customers for? In this case, my rate is going to be $95 per hour, okay? Or per photo session, I'm sorry. So once I've done that, now here's a little kind of funky thing that's in your book. Services actually are not taxable. So I don't know why your book labeled it as being taxable for. Because it is a service. Services are not taxed. Okay. So it's supposed to change that to service. But that's what you got to do. If you want the tax code, again, we'll talk about the tax code. So I have these lists. Again, you have a way that the government will tax you. You have it for non-for-profit. Again, they do get tax exempt for that. Other things too, such as if they're, either out of state, obviously you're going to get taxed by whatever state that they live in, and things like that. And then tax is just for regular tax sales, okay, if you charge tax in person, okay. But again, I'm only going to be using this as a service tax, so they're not going to get taxed. It's going to be tax exempt. So here, the account that you're going to associate it is going to be obviously what is the revenues that you're going to have, which is sales. Okay, understand this because this section here should be your sales section. It doesn't tell you that, but there you go. All right, sales. Description says photo session. Okay, simple, done. Once you've done that, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And there it is. My first photo session item. So when I bill my customers, it's going to pull up the information, and I'll show you exactly what happens when we reach to chapter 2. Okay? So with that being said, it is exactly 2:38, so I'm going to stop here, and we'll resume class at 3 o'clock. Okay?
Yes. Lynn, can I ask you a question before you go on break?
Go for it.
I am on, and I was trying to register to get my email, and it is not giving me, it's not finding the school name, and it is not giving me